It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston. Welcome to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I'm, of course, your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for tuning in. Got an exciting hour filled for you guys worth of a bunch of different types of knowledge. A lot of different questions have been asked over the course of the past week or so, and so I'm naming this show the Question Show. All kinds of questions have poured in about different parts of the real estate process, about the market in general, what's going on right now, how to make sense out of everything. And so very excited for this particular show this weekend. Just a lot of different angles and ways in which we're going to share information with you about the Charleston real estate market and about what it looks like to work with a real estate agent or buy a house or sell a house or invest in real estate right now. So we'd love the opportunity to hear from you. We'd love to take some questions from you guys through our Facebook page. If you just go to Facebook and look up Brian Beatty Real Estate Show, you can find us there. Make sure to like our page. Feel free to comment. Send us a message on anything you'd like to hear on this program. That's where some of the stuff came from. We've had some things from our YouTube channel and, of course, in just conversation with folks that give us a call. And if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate and you want to work with the top real estate team, that's what we do. We've been selling real estate here locally for 13 years. We've been in the top 1% of agents here for the past decade. And we'd love to earn your business. So feel free to call me personally. My number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 345-1273. Or go to listingsincharleston.com. That's our website, listingsincharleston.com. Learn more about us and who we are, what we do, what we sell, how we sell it, how many we've sold, all that fun stuff. Search the MLS, listen to versions of this show, find out how much your home is worth. listingsincharleston.com. So let's get right into it. Let's get to some of these questions. I'm pretty excited about this because this show, although very educational in nature, usually has some sort of path. There's a rhyme to the reason in terms of how I prepare for these shows. And this is just going to be kind of more of a shotgun approach to some of the questions that you guys have as you listen to these kinds of programs, because the purpose of the show is to arm you with the information necessary to help create realistic expectations about the process, about the market, about what you should expect about working with your agent, how big of a deal you can get when you buy something, how much money you can sell it for when you sell something, what to invest in, where not to invest, what questions to ask, all that fun stuff. It's the more you listen to this program, the smarter you become. But let's get into these questions. So the first one comes from Bill M. in West Ashley. And I'm going to start off kind of simple here. He says, what is a seller's market and what is a buyer's market? I think oftentimes you guys don't understand that we don't speak your lingo. Good point. So let me make this very simple. A seller's market is when demand outweighs supply, which creates a shortage of inventory. And the less there is of something, the more a buyer is willing to pay for it. So in a seller's market, increasing demand for homes drives up the prices. So here are some of those drivers of demand. One of them, of course, is economic factors. The local labor market heats up. You bring in an inflow of new residents, and that pushes up home prices because more inventory needs to be built. We've absorbed some of that inventory. Another one could be that interest rates trend downward. It improves affordability, which has been such a problem for us over the past year or so. It's still better overall or historically than it should be. But that's one of the reasons why our market's starting to shift a little bit away from a seller's market, quite frankly. But it creates more buyer interest when interest rates trend downward, particularly for first-time home buyers who can afford either a bigger home or a home in general rather than continuing to rent or live in mom's basement. Another factor that can contribute to a seller's market would be a short-term spike in interest rates. It might compel people that are on the fence to make a purchase because nobody wants to catch a falling sword. If you act now before interest rates go up again, then you've just afforded yourself more home or a better home for the same money. And I think, frankly, we're kind of in that position right now. And the last thing that contributes to a seller's market is low inventory. Fewer homes on the market, because of a lack of new construction or because buyers are purchasing pre-owned inventory very quickly, those prices for existing homes go up because there are just fewer of them. So here's the example that I always give when I'm trying to help people understand the difference between the seller's market and the buyer's market. So think of the movies, think of the ones that are based on natural disasters. And you're driving around and all the grocery stores have been looted and it's you and your family, and you see somebody on the side of the road and they're selling a case of water for $100. Well, if water is scarce, you might be willing to pay $100 for that case of water because you don't know when you're going to have the opportunity to buy something you need or want again. So in a buyer's market, obviously it's the complete opposite. Supply outweighs demand, which creates a surplus of inventory, which is, the more there is of something, the less a buyer is willing to pay for it. So the perfect example for that would be, it's not like you're going to pay $100 for a case of water. In fact, let's say that you're going to go to the grocery store and you're looking at all the different kinds of water that you can buy. Well, unless you're married to a certain brand, you're not going to pay $8 to $10 for a case of water. You're going to look for the cases of water that are $4 a piece. You're going to bargain shop. It's because there's a bunch of different options. And so what are some of the things that contribute to a buyer's market? Well, of course, it's characterized by declining home prices and reduced demand. And there are obviously several factors that affect that, both long-term and short-term, like economic disruptions. Like, a big employer shuts down, as an example, lays off a huge workforce. Well, that could put a significant supply on the market if these people can no longer afford to keep their homes. Interest rates trending higher is another one. The amount of money that people can borrow to buy a house is reduced because the cost of money is higher. It reduces the total number of potential buyers in a market, which is why sometimes first-time home buyers struggle in markets like this to get into the market, because the higher prices go and the more interest rates go up, the less likely they are to be able to afford that entry-level home that, frankly, they want to spend enough money on to be able to own. Just because somebody has a down payment and a decent income doesn't necessarily mean that they want to go and buy a big fixer-upper in an area that they're not really interested in living in. There's still, it's not totally driven by, the need for home ownership. That need for home ownership, especially among first-time home buyers, is declining. That is a trend that is declining, especially among millennials, by the way. But it's, of course, also characterized by high inventory. So, a new subdivision can create downward pressure on prices of older homes nearby if there are now all these new, pretty shiny options where you're going to get some, brand new appliances, or a credit for something, or your closing costs paid, which is why some sellers oftentimes struggle to compete with new construction, because these builders are, they're paying their closing costs. They're also incentivizing the out of the agents. I can tell you right now that there are new construction communities that I can take my team to, and in return for doing so, I can get Yeti coolers, I can get Apple Watches, I can get entered into a chance to go on a cruise, I can get iPads, I can get Visa gift cards. I'm telling you, if I actually didn't care about my time, I could go to all these new construction communities and rack up right now. But that doesn't serve my clients, so I don't. We do at times when I feel that somebody has a product that we need to see and want to see, and it's not about getting something for going, it's about educating my team and then, of course, the public about those options. But there you go. Those are the differences between the buyer's market and a seller's market. So who submitted that question? Bill, thanks for your question on that. Let's go to Terry S. in Somerville. And she asks, how many homes should I view before buying one? Is there a standard I should know about? That's a good question. We've never talked about, is there some sort of standard for the number of homes that you should view before buying one to avoid regret or to avoid the cold feet that sometimes buyers get? But here's the deal. It's totally up to you. And there is no answer to that. For sure, home shopping today is easier than it has ever been before. The ability to search for homes online and see pictures even before setting foot inside of a house, it's just completely changed the game for buying a house. Plus, you have all of these different features that all these different websites offer now, so that you can look at, schools and crime rates and, amenities. There's all kinds of pricing history, taxes. But of course, nothing beats seeing a house in person and getting the feel for it. But here's the challenge. And I was talking to somebody about this earlier. Because buyers have so much information available to them, there are plenty of them that feel like the buyer agent it's really not needed anymore. And I couldn't agree with that more. But they feel like, hey, I can shop for a home myself. I know that everything that's on the MLS is on Zillow, and when I see something I like, I'm just going to contact the listing agent and they're going to show me the property. Well, here's the problem with that. That listing agent represents the seller. They don't represent you. And if they do, then it's going to be under something called dual agency, which is a very limited form of representation. If your idea is to get the best deal possible, I'm here to tell you that it's hard to do that by getting a dual agent, because they already represent the seller. They have to represent both parties equally. Whereas if you have an exclusive buyer agent, I can do everything possible to have a conversation with that seller, that seller's agent, to find out their motivation to sell, what kind of negotiability they have on their listing. And you do that in very creative ways by asking good questions, which a skilled agent can do for you. But if I'm a dual agent, I can't tell you how low of an offer the seller might be willing to accept, or why they might be willing to accept a lower offer, just like I can't tell the seller how much you can afford to pay for a house. But when you have individual representation and it's us versus them, aside from, our code of ethics and operating legally and ethically and morally, there are no other gloves to wear. It's us versus them. It's a fight. If you want to look at it that way, it's a competition to get the best deal possible. And the person that's more skilled wins. Or the person that has a deeper desire for whatever it is they're going to hold firm on is going to win, of course. And so that's just one of the challenges, is that we have all these buyers that now think, hey, I've got access to all the information I need. Why do I need you? The agents are no longer the gatekeepers of information. And so the challenge is the agents haven't adopted to a new way of doing things, or they leverage the fact that you can search for a home on your own. And rather than investing in the home search process with you, they just set you up with some sort of search on the MLS, and they say, hey, I'm going to give you access to the MLS. Like it's this secret thing that nobody has access to. In reality, only real estate agents have access to the MLS. The information in the MLS is syndicated to other websites, but only agents can access the MLS. That's a fact. And so when we create a search view in the MLS and something is entered into the MLS by another real estate agent that will eventually appear on these other websites, the benefit to being working with an agent that has a search set up for you through the MLS is that it truly is instantaneous. I mean, there are properties that don't show up on Zillow until 48 hours afterwards. And if you're in the market for a property and something really nice hits the market, guess what? Some of those don't last 2 days. I just sold one for $1.25 million under multiple offers that sold in 2 days, which I was very impressed by. I was not necessarily expecting that from that market, but here we are. And so the problem is these agents say, hey, I'm just going to set you up with a search. And then each time you hit, you receive an email with some of these properties that have hit the market, let me know if you see anything you like and I'll show it to you. So they've just become a glorified door opener until it's time to write an offer on something and negotiate. And they need to help determine fair market value and how to help you negotiate and get the best deal possible, which is a totally separate set of skills for a separate discussion. But you should be looking for a buyer agent that is going to not only set you up with a search for properties for sale in the MLS, they should also be receiving that list of properties. They should also be calling you and saying, hey, did you see that new property that hit the market at 123 Main Street? It's perfect. We need to go see it like as soon as possible because it's priced really well. I mean, obviously as a buyer, you want something like that, but you also want them calling for sale by owners and people that tried selling last year and the property came off the market and now the world has kind of forgotten about them, except for the few agents that bug the you-know-what out of them to try and get them to list with them. But that's a source of potential sales that buyer agents should be calling on behalf of their clients. You also have the ability to determine, who might be selling in the near future. Are there other agents that have listing agreements that are not online yet? Do we have listings that are not online yet? We call the neighborhood and ask if people know of anyone in the neighborhood willing to sell. And that sounds like such an old school approach, like, oh yeah, right, you do that. We do. In the past 2 years, we sold 28 homes doing that. It's incredible when you start adding people to the team and spreading your net really wide to find all of these deals for your buyers. So long as you're actually working and turning over stones, you're going to find deals. You're going to go above and beyond for your clients and find those opportunities rather than just sit back and be always in reactive mode like so many agents are. So that's what you need to be looking for a buyer agent, is somebody that's going to be proactive and go out and find you properties in addition to just sending you what's already coming through the MLS. Make sense? Hope so. I have a lot more questions to get through, so stick around as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues right here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. And remember to go to our Facebook page, Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. You can, of course, check out our radio show website at charlestonrealestateradio.com. Or if you'd like to contact me personally, my number is 843-345-1273. That's 843-345-1273. Or go to my personal website, listingsincharleston.com, for more information on my team and working with us. Again, that's listingsincharleston.com. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Have a real estate question? Ask Brian Beatty. Send him an email, lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show is on 1250 WTMA.